I started doing groups back in 1988, and with adolescents, with adults, and I found that it helps people to open up, to really find who they are, to find their voice, and to begin to heal from things, wounds that they've had for years. They find themselves maybe in a box as time goes on. And over time, they begin to think and ask questions about this box that they're in. And can they get out? Does it feel comfortable anymore? When you begin to ask questions like that, that's important. That's a great step. And group can help you to answer some of the questions that you have about life, about where you're going, what you want to do with yourself, wounds and hurts that you have had from the past that you need to heal from, and how to move on with your life. And I work from a framework of evidence-based therapy. So a lot of the recommendations I'm giving to people have been well researched and documented as ways of finding healing and hope and a healthy life again. And so once the person signs on, we set some goals, and we begin to meet weekly for about an hour and a half. Most groups run for about an hour and a half. It's about 5 to 6 people, so they're small groups. And then once the person begins to feel like they're living the life that they would like to have, and they've reached sufficiently mark in terms of their goals, then we can begin to talk about ending group. I first became interested in groups during my master's program, and we had a group for young women. It was just a college setting. And I began to see how comfortable the women became and began to open up and find a sense of acceptance and belonging and joy that they didn't have elsewhere. And so I began to do more and more groups. Different places where I worked over the years where there was no group program, I began to start group programs and began to introduce people to the power of group and the healing nature of groups. Now, group therapy can be helpful with a number of issues. I have worked with people with anxiety, depression, loss, grieving, parenting issues. It's very helpful also for people who are going through marital situations. You were born into a group, which is your family. That's the first group you're part of. Your work situation, school, whatever it might be, you're existing in groups all the time. And so you can heal in groups. And with a group, the way it's set up in terms of being non-judgmental, you go at your own pace, you have a competent facilitator, the therapist that's there with you to guide the process. You begin to open up and talk about feelings, hurts, successes too, victories as well. And then in talking in such a free, non-judgmental environment, you begin to release that part of yourself that is capable of being creative, capable of being content and finding joy and living life again in the way you'd like to live it.